Okay.
All right, here we go.
Oh, righty. We've been chatting a little bit, so
Chatting and laughing.
we're in the right mood. So, all right, to get started, you'll see the theme of this, but remember, this is all symbolic. We all have our own symbols. We've been having this conversation. We all have our own symbols that we hold in ourselves that stand for something. And they probably don't even stand for what you think they stand for, because it's really all about energy. But we use these symbols to basically be able to deal with this without having to deal with all of this. So we break it down into symbols. So,
okay. Yeah.
All right. So the first one is boot camp for everyone. When I first got to boot camp, these men I didn't know were insulting me. In their minds, they were breaking me down to my bare essentials so that they then could build me up into their image. This is what we do to each other on a regular basis.
Yeah. It's just like, I mean, I was just having this conversation the other day. It's like everyone's just projecting everything onto each other until they heal themselves, the good and the bad. It's like they're just trying to fill each other up or take something to fill themselves up from someone else all the time, and then damaging each other in the process, and then having a sense of emotional entitlement, like my problem's the bigger problem, so I get to have a pissy fit. You know, you have to listen to me. And doing it to each other all day. I used to be one.
Yep, we all do it.
We all do it.
That's why this is boot camp for everyone. We're all in our own boot camp. Whether whatever you call boot camp or whatever, it's our challenges. How do you know they're yours? Because they're yours. They're the one what you're facing. No two people have the same set of challenges, things that they're being confronted with. So
life school. I call it life school.
It is. Yep.
Definitely.
All right. So the next one is boot camp resistance. At first, I fought their insults internally, but complied with their orders in order to fit in externally. The result was maximum chaos and discomfort. This is our world where internal doesn't equal internal.
Where internal doesn't equal internal.
Right.
This is, I feel like we're taught from a young age, be yourself, be free to be you and me. Let's be who you are. And then your friends start making fun of you, like at a young age. And then you start having to like, oh, I can't be that. I have to hide that part of me. I have to go in the box. And so it starts at that time. And
it's like,
goes on from there until you're free.
Yeah. It's like naming your dog Stay.
Yeah.
Come here, Stay. Come here, Stay. Come here, Stay.
Yes.
So your dog's confused. Well, we confuse ourselves because all these people are doing these things to us, and we called them forth.
Yeah, it made me also think about a little bit what we were talking about some things earlier with when you talked about they were telling you things, following their orders, and you were trying to fit in with their orders. So it's like their expectation of you, but it didn't resonate with you inside.
Hence,
so
I was fighting it.
So
I was fighting what they were doing, but I was still trying to comply because there's a reason why there isn't a boot camp of one when you go to Marine boot camp. They use peer pressure. So I was complying because I wanted to fit in, but at the same time, I was fighting internally what they were calling me.
Yeah.
You're lower than whale shit. What? Because there's nothing lower than whale shit.
Yeah, that's lower than a snake belly.
So I was fighting it. Yeah, lower than, because this is at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, and think about, because we do that as a society, where you said our world where internal doesn't equal, and we do that as a society. Like Jenny was saying, we hide based on peer pressure in school. We do it as adults. We do it. It's every layer in there, the peer pressure.
Yeah, most of your discomfort. This is why I mentioned the result was maximum chaos and discomfort, because I was causing a rift between my internal and my external.
Yeah. You're wearing a
Okay.
mask. That's what we call a mask or whatever.
Right.
Wearing that. Mm-hmm.
Well, me being willing to be me now makes a lot of like my family members uncomfortable. You know, me and my brother, we hung out with my dad last month, and me and my brother and I both were kind of our authentic selves for the first time ever. And my dad was the only one that was kind of like felt awkward at all. You know? So it was interesting.
Well, most of us who are doing what we're doing with these videos have probably gone through quite a ordeal recently with their family. And either they're no longer hanging out with their family, and if they are, it's probably not like it used to be. There's probably some contention there because they want you to be what they have represented in their mind for you, because
Right.
you hold a symbol for them. You may represent, let's say, your brother may represent to one of your family members, may represent anger. Let's just say anger and fear, or you may represent conformity, conforming with those around you. And if any one person doesn't play that role, then you throw everyone who's relying on that for you throw them out on a loop. They're confused. They don't, because you're not playing that role. So it actually makes all the other pieces become suspect. They want everyone to play their role, even if it seems like chaos. There's a method to the madness.
Yeah, because if everybody's projecting, then somebody's known to be something, a hothead, or the one who takes care of everybody, or, if you're kind of known by your family and friends to be that, when you're no longer doing that and you're being more true in who you are, then like you're saying, that role is then missing, or is, who's taking responsibility for that role? It kind of forces them to take their own responsibility for that role that you've been playing.
Yeah, I mean, how many of us have heard in our families, don't worry about, I say brother, sister, whatever, you pick the family member. Hey, your brother's causing problems again, go get your sister. Like it's her job to take care of the brother or whatever family member, because that's what they've placed them in these roles. But at some point, those who are waking up, which everyone's in the process of waking up, starts to fight against those, because we were born into it. We didn't really get to vote on it. And now we're starting to stand up, develop our own sovereignty, and say, you know what, I don't want to play that role again. Then you go hang around your family, not playing that role, and that's where the contention. It's not in the words, it's in the energy flow. The energy is not flowing the way it was before. Even if it was chaotic or didn't make sense to you, it made sense to somebody that held it in place. So, all right, the next one is boot camp acceptance. There came a point when I stopped resisting and accepted not what they thought of me, but the reality of the challenge I was in. If I had believed their insults, I never would have accepted the challenge, but would have been crippled by the power of the insults over me. Instead, I took that power and applied it to how I addressed the insults and the challenge. In our world now, we are confronted with this same power struggle. So I say insults, challenges, you use your own verbology. Okay? It's up to you. Everyone's being challenged in some form or fashion. Some it's insults, some it's a questioning of your belief system, or why you act this way and not that way, or why you wear those clothes. Some of us take it more personal than others. I've heard people argue, and when I walked away from the argument, I knew there was argument, but I didn't really think it was that bad. I was kind of like, someone said, will you go have lunch with me? And the other person said, no, I don't really have time. I have to study for this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I walked away, and then each of those people came and talked to me about it. One person said, can you believe that she insulted me that way? I mean, just the way she disrespected me and blah, blah, blah and everything. And then the other person came to me and not really worried about, wasn't even focused. And I said, did you realize that the other person is kind of hurt by what went on? They're like, from what? I had to go study. What do you mean? What? Hurt by what? Because I wouldn't go have lunch with them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she seemed to think that you insulted her and whatever. Well, just because I said no, and I needed to go study. I really needed to go study.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like when I sat back from that, I go, wow, just two people in the same conversation and two completely different perspectives.
Because each were telling their own story about what happened.
Well, it was based on expectations.
Yeah.
The
Right.
one had an expectation that the other one would not say no, would in fact want to go to lunch with them, or would say yes to go to lunch with them. Now, it's probably that person who invited them to lunch probably had a higher reason for it. They probably wanted to unload on them or whatever, and now they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, but and also though, how much time was wasted because the person couldn't just say, well, it would mean a lot to me if you would just come to lunch. It's very important to me. Instead of just baiting them with a casual lunch to have them say no and then have all this back talk.
Don't go mixing in rationality into these discussions. What is wrong with you? I mean, come on.
We're supposed to be able to read each other's minds.
You're supposed to know what I want without me telling you.
I remember sometimes with Chris, I'm like, I'm not in there. You know I'm not in there, right?
He says that to me all the time.
I go, stop, please, stop. You realize that you probably skipped steps 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Right?
I'm like, are you supposed to be
like, what? She's looking at me like, where are you? Where did you go? Why are you not with me?
And then Chris is like, why don't you know what I know?
Dang telepathy, come online.
Oh, that's so funny. All right, the next one is boot camp summit. Eventually, the insults stopped due to their lack of impact on me. They only worked if I believed them. The physical challenges lessened because I stopped resisting them and allowed myself to excel. The struggles of boot camp and even the drill instructors weren't my enemy. I had been. I realized that their insults weren't what they thought of me, but were a test to see if I did.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what's surrounding you. This is what people need to get. These people are not doing you a disservice. They're doing a service. You called upon them to come show you something, even if you don't like it, even if it's wrong. It's what is your reaction to it?
They're giving you the opportunity to take your power back, or to get your power, get a hold of yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. That's really good.
Yeah. All right. So the next one is, are you stuck in your boot camp? Are you confronted by insults or personal attacks? Do challenges to your beliefs or why you do what you do leave you winded or exhausted? These will persist until you take away their power. Why? Because you instructed your higher self to do so, just as I did with the drill instructors at boot camp.
Yeah.
You are in boot camp. You made it. You may push against it, but you called these people forth. The people that are in your circles, they're there because you invited them. You invited them as is. Not the challenge is, or what puts pressure on us is our expectations. It's like, I invited you over here, but I wanted you to go over there. But that person has free will.
Yeah.
You have free will. So you can kick someone out of your circle at any time. If you have an ongoing challenge with someone and neither are leaving, guess what? Both of you said, okay, we'll stay, and we'll accept this challenge.
Yeah, let's play ping pong, karma ping pong.
Karma. Karma ping pong. All right. So the next one is graduating boot camp. I'm sure by now you've gotten the gist of where I'm coming from.
The theme.
We don't graduate our boot camps with all the answers. In fact, it's often with many more questions. The main difference between pre-boot camp and post-boot camp is in attitude. An attitude of accepting challenges and questioning everything, including yourself.
Yeah, which what's been coming up this week many times over, we're looking for questions rather than looking for answers. So, I mean, that fits right with, and we talked a little bit about that today. The minute you know an answer is when you stop learning.
Yeah.
And so,
let me go ahead and read this other one. We'll do these two together.
Okay.
All your external challenges have one thing in common. You. That's the good news. You only have one person's attitude to deal with and the power to change. And remember, answers end the quest for further knowledge, while questions throw open the doors. So we're not, the old paradigm was all about answers. Now we're all about questions. It's about questions. We have lots of questions that need answers for, but it's not the answers that are important. It's the questions. It's going deep inside to say, what questions do I have? What do I have? What questions do I have mainly for myself? And where do I need to go in pursuit of the answers? It's not the answers. The answers are that's the finish line. Once you get there, you've cul-de-saced it, you're done. You're not going to go any further in that avenue. So really, questions should spawn further questions. And further and further and further, because we're never going to be done with challenges, the struggles. We're never going to be done. As soon as we get done with this collection of struggles, more come online. That's how we learn.
Well, and if we want it to not have struggles or not, and we think we're solving something, then we get frustrated when something new comes up, versus if you know you're on a path of constant questions and constant unveilings, you're much more likely to accept it as it comes in your fear. What does
that point to? Your attitude.
Your attitude, yeah.
It's all about your attitude.
100%.
I saw it in boot camp. Most everyone that showed up there was in some form of resistance. They were there for whatever reason, but they were resistant to actually accepting what was happening to them.
I'm laughing because my boot camp was 51 years.
Yeah.
That's a really long boot camp.
Yeah, but we all go through segments of boot camp and whatnot. But what this is pointing to is not giving you an answer to this boot camp you're in, because there comes another boot camp.
Yeah.
What I'm kind of highlighting here is each of us coming up with our methodology of dealing with boot camps that are not from the old paradigm. It's from the new paradigm, which is not about answers. It's about questions and about, what is my attitude? What is my attitude right now? Because that's how things are going to come across to you. In that conversation I talked about, those two people, one had attitude that the other one owed them something. The other one had an attitude of, simple. I have to go study. So this is a priority.
It's funny because, like, growing up, I mean, I grew up in a pretty entitled family, and my brother, who struggled like our whole life, but when he was younger, he was like, I would never, be a carpenter. I would never work at McDonald's. I would never do that. Now he's like, he'll do whatever it takes. He works with his hands, but it took him like going through years of struggle, going to prison, being completely broken down as a human being to nothing. And now to become what he is now, which is very happy and actually doing the things that he said he would never do, or never be.
Yeah.
So he had quite a boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I watched it my whole life. I watched him, and I remember even thinking he's getting an opportunity to get it, and he's not getting it. So I see another lesson come up, and I remember even thinking it as a teenager, watching, like, if he doesn't get it, something really bad's going to happen, because he's getting all these like slaps on the universal slaps on the wrist, where it could have gone really bad, but he got away with it. And I watched it go, knowing kind of from a higher level what was going on at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but he actually was choosing it, or his higher self, in conjunction with his higher self. He was choosing it because that's what he was being confronted with. No one.
Oh, he's like whatever, summa cum laude of Harvard Law Universal Life School is like what my brother chose.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing is we choose it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of people who keep pointing the finger outward.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're pointing the finger, you are not taking the power.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving the power to someone else.
Yeah.
Who leaves you at the mercy of whatever's happening to you externally.
Mm-hmm.
I see it happening a lot, just like in different groups, like socially or whatever, like get caught in this support group for this, a support group for that, where they get stuck in this loop of, I'm a spiritual person, but I've got to blame about this. I've got to blame about this. I've got to blame about, and it's like, whew, hop out of that, that hamster wheel, because it gets you stuck. You think you're elevating, but you're not, because you're stuck in this spinning, chasing your tail thing.
Yeah, what I found, and I'm not saying this about all support groups. This is more a matter of an observation that I noticed among support groups, that at least the questions have to be out there, is that a lot of these support groups, all the members know each other, and they've all found some kind of disharmonious harmony,
like a
balance.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
want,
exactly.
They want new blood to come in so that they would have new disharmony in order to point the finger, blame,
shake it up,
or whatever.
Yeah. It's like they stopped working. They didn't want to work the karma out with a certain person, so they block it. So they're creating it to work out that karmic lesson with somebody else. So
exactly.
It's creating more karma for more people, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The answers aren't outside you. All those are symbols.
Mm-hmm.
They're recreations of what's going on inside you, and you can pay homage to them and put the emphasis on them, or you can deal with it inside, try to find that symbol inside you and deal with it inside you in your own time, under lower stress situations,
mm-hmm.
and come up with the triggers and the methods to actually pull the power away from them. And say, because I told her oftentimes, and this is just one approach, but this helps in a lot of different situations, no matter what the emotion is. If you can build in a pause before you react,
mm-hmm.
someone does something to you and angers you. Instead of going with your instinct and reacting, just build a pause to go, why am I angry? Just, you don't have to have the answer. Just build that pause in. Oftentimes, it will dissipate that instinctual need to just react. And before you know it, you're actually already unwinding. You're beginning the unwinding of what that stuck.
Mm-hmm. That loop you're in.
Stuck emotion, memory, whatever you want to call it. Whatever that is, you've already begun unwinding it just by pausing.
Yeah.
Instead of spinning codependent webs all over the place.
Yes. Yeah, because I was going to say exactly, because that pause works for whether you want to rescue, whether you want to defend, whether you're angry, whatever that natural reaction that you would jump into, that pause applies to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we we all put it, we all put our own problems in layers out there that mirror what's going on inside us. So do you recognize it and say, I am the common denominator here? So I'm not going to blame them because they're just showing, even if they're flat out wrong, it doesn't matter whether they're right or wrong. Right or wrong, it has nothing to do with it. It actually has to do with how does it trigger you? What does it do to you? Because I realized in boot camp, they were calling me lower than whale shit. Well, they just met me. How would they know? Plus, I know, unless they're figuratively versus literal, and we had a long conversation about that. They don't know me.
Right.
They were basically just throwing out fishing lines to see who they could catch.
Who they could pick on.
Well, we all have that in our lives. Who triggers you the most? That's it. Who triggers you the most? Then look at it. What is it about them that triggers you? I bet if you keep deep diving, you're going to find out it's something inside you. It's not.
Oh, it's my kids for sure. I can be like, I'm gonna be calm. We're gonna have and then 3. I'm like, oh my gosh! I have to go in my room. I'm like, Zen. Be back to Zenny. Back to Zenny.
Jenny. Well, and if you think about it, when you're kids, we talked about this last week or something. When you were kids, they would figure out what irritated you and pick at you. So if you reacted to something, that's what then they picked at you about. Because if you didn't react to anything, then it wasn't, one, you didn't believe it about yourself, and two, that was no fun for the bullies, or the ones who wanted to get under your skin.
Well, that's exactly what happened in boot camp.
Yeah.
When you're there, when you first get there, the insults are left and right. It doesn't matter who you are. Everyone gets it. Is going to get that flack. They get it every day. It's day in, day out. They don't stop. Well, after a time, they have figured out who the ones it works most on. And that's where they spent their energy. So pretty much, I was kind of a little bit older when I went. And I found after about a week, they didn't even really mess with me because I just went and did whatever I was supposed to do and didn't worry about. They'd tell me that your mother's this or mother that. I'm like, well, no, my mother's not. And they've never even met my mother. So I don't have to worry about that because they're just throwing out crap left and right. So, but you would see the guys who couldn't help it. They would get triggered. You would see them, their steam coming out of their ears. And the drill instructors just, oh my gosh, they zoned in on that and just kept going. And what they were trying to get you to do is actually not care about their insults. And eventually that's what they got to.
That's like a major purge of anger, like it's like a hard, like almost going to like a cleanse for anger.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, exactly.
And when the other part of it, when we first got there, a lot of guys couldn't even do, 3 push-ups or whatnot. And some of them would fight it. They would just, they do 3 and then just collapse, and they would get insulted and they couldn't stand insulted. So then they'd get up there and try to do more, but they would just, so they would just kind of be in that no man's land of being insulted and then not being able to do the challenges. And I had talks with, because I ended up becoming a squad leader, I ended up talking to a lot of my guys in my squad, because oftentimes what happened is if someone in your squad messed up, then they make either the whole squad pay for it or that person and the squad leader for his squad leader. So I realized it behooved me to go talk to this guy and say, listen, they're trying to provoke you. Okay. So these guys don't know you. They're all they're trying to do is throw out saying and see if they can provoke you. If you stop being provoked, they will go away. And it worked. And then
I tell one of my kids that like once a day, both of them, once every day, stop reacting and she'll stop doing it to you.
Yeah, but it's hard because Because why? Because of all our programming and our instincts. We have these instincts that we have to, so someone's not allowed to say bad things about us. They're not allowed to think bad things about us.
And if you don't defend yourself or defend your family
like
name,
defending
or
is the answer to everything.
Country, or
no, I mean, I mean, Buddha would tell us differently.
Exactly.
It's a matter of just, I mean, what do they do? I mean, if you actually tackle and more of the insults that they're only, you tackle and more to yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, but I'm also stupid and this and that, and where you don't mean it. You're just basically showing them it doesn't faze you.
Yeah, exactly.
But they were there at my request. I requested boot camp. So that's kind of a microcosm of what we've got going on with all our higher self. They're there to throw at us whatever it is that we told them we wanted to learn. And they're like, well, why don't you just throw it down directly? Because then you'll just fight that. I know you better than you know yourself. I'm going to give you the most direct path I can, but with all your brainwashing and all your instincts that you're fighting. Because we talked about this about rider. Are you the rider or are you the horse? That's what we have to answer. Most of us, by our actions, it doesn't matter what you think. It's your actions tell you whether or not you think you're the horse or the rider. Most of us think we're the horse. We're getting whipped. We don't know why. We don't know why this is being directed this way. We don't know why things are being directed that way. If you look at it, if you hear what people say, you can tell they think they're the horse.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you go back to like Buddha, you mentioned Confucius. I mean, all the wisdom, Jesus. It is about being the rider, not the horse. And a lot of those adages, and a lot of them were questions. I mean, some of those people would pilgrimage miles to go talk and find wisdom from this person, and then they would give them a question. Away.
Yeah, well, you think about it.
Being the puppet or being the puppeteer, too.
I mean, it's the same principle. When it comes to rider or the horse, the training starts with groundwork between the rider and the horse, because that horse could stomp the out of that rider anytime it wanted to. So it's not a matter of making the horse turn right or making the horse turn left or making the horse run. It's actually asking the horse. But the horse and the rider need to come up with a common language. And that's where the groundwork begins. That's what we need to do with ourselves. Come up with that common language between our higher self and ourselves down here, so that rider and horse speak the same language. And once we do, we start realizing, oh, that's what that represents. Oh, that's why I've got that challenge. It's what it does is it changes your attitude. It starts to get you understanding nothing is in your circle that someone else put there. You put it. Your higher self, you and your horse called it. We need this challenge. Will you please give us that so that we can surmount it? And that's what we're doing. We're learning, if we come to the realization that we are not the horse. The horse is the physical body. Without our soul in it, it could go on and do what animals do, and even more, a little bit higher than what animals could do without our souls in there. But our souls come in. Our souls are the rider. That's the true us. But we also have aspects of the horse in us, because we're so close to it. It's just like rider and horse. You can tell when the horse is getting agitated. You can tell, even though it's not your agitation, it's the horse's agitation. Same thing. What we need to do is come up with a principle whereby it works for rider and horse combo, not just for the horse, just for the rider, but it works for both.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then the spending time, I mean, with the rider and the horses, spending time so that they become a unit, you know, and that takes a relationship. And I mean, you talk about what do we say to ourselves, you know, what do we say to our internally to ourselves is like talking to your horse or beating your horse. So are you developing a relationship between the rider and the horse?
That's what I kept telling her. I said, quit beating your horse. And now she knows what I mean.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're doing. We have a number of challenges here. First, we think we're the horse. Mm-hmm. So we wonder, why are we getting beat? Mm-hmm. Why are we getting beat down? Why are we getting pushed this way and pushed that way? Then there has to become like an awakening, a rise above that, and realize, hey, I'm not the horse, mm-hmm. because I've got a little bit more control over this. I can actually decide what my attitude towards this is or toward that. So then you start becoming the rider, but then you've got traumas to deal with, and mm-hmm. when you're doing it, you start beating the horse mm-hmm. because you haven't learned to speak the language of the horse. Mm-hmm. So you're beating it thinking you're getting away from your trauma, mm-hmm. when in fact that's not the way to get away from it. You're now making your horse your enemy instead mm-hmm. of partnering with your horse. So there comes a point when you realize you're beating your horse. Stop beating your horse. Mm-hmm. And then that pause makes you start to go, what do horse and rider need now? Mm-hmm. What is it that we need? We need to start developing a language that we both can abide by, whereby both of us are respected from each other's standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's why there's so much internal work needed, and so much quiet time and internal work needed to develop that relationship. Because if other people try to train your horse, you know, it's not going to work between the rider and the horse. So the other people can't train your horse. If they train it, they're going to train it to their liking, mm-hmm. yours. So, and
that does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Yep. So it's all a matter. We all are being trained. It doesn't matter. We talk mm-hmm. about, you know, brainwashing and mind control and all that. That's training. Mm-hmm. We as soon as you're born and you come in, you're undergoing training, mm-hmm. mind control, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Some people could have a bad attitude toward it and say, I don't want to be mind controlled anymore. Mm-hmm. Well, unfortunately, you're gonna be, because as long as you're separated from your higher self and you're playing in the matrix, because the matrix is not bad. The matrix is used to show us what we need to learn, where mm-hmm. we're stuck and all that. Mm-hmm. So the matrix is not bad. But if we want to keep playing this game, we have to keep believing in the game. Mm-hmm. So that means we stay in the game. In order to stay in the game, we have to kind of believe that the matrix is real. Mm-hmm. But there are multiple levels of awakening where you start to realize, hey, I'm not the horse anymore. I'm the rider. Okay, mm-hmm. now I'm the rider, but stop beating the horse. So now so each step is a step closer to your higher self.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You're starting to realize you have more options. You have more power than you believe.
You have choices. You don't just have to hang around the people that you are raised with just because you're raised with them. You can choose to go somewhere else. You can choose to do it's like, it's a choice. You know, when it finally occurred to me, like, I don't know, in my 30s or whatever, I was like, wow, I don't have to do that.
So you actually take your existing training, mind control, whatever you want to call it, and you substitute a higher version of mind control and training. Mm-hmm. It's not bad. It's only bad if you perceive it as bad, because there is no bad or good. It's just, mm-hmm. it's a perception. We've got pushed on us that these behaviors are good, these mm-hmm. behaviors are bad. Mm-hmm. It's all part of source. So we're just experiencing them. And what we've done is we've delineated them. We've said, okay, the bad one's over here, the good one's over here. But really, we can then go and step up our training up to another level. This time, instead of getting it from other people, we're now saying, I believe in my higher self, because that is me. It's just I'm like a shadow of me down here, so that my higher self can experience what's down here.
Especially because we were talking about shadow puppets, remember? And you said down here we're like the shadow of, we're like doing this and we're like, oh, a rabbit, but it's not really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're just seeing we're
seeing a shadow.
We're seeing a symbolic representation of what the energy really is. But we break it down into symbols that we can then translate. Is it really the way it is? No, only here.
Right.
When you're here in 3D, it makes sense. Logically, it makes sense. But as we start to move up, it doesn't make sense here anymore, because this is a lower density. Yes, I know that's me. Lower density. And as we get to our heart, this is higher density. Yeah. It takes a higher density to understand what's going on here. More and more people are starting to realize that things are happening to them, and if they think too much, they get in the way and it falls apart. But if they just let it flow, let it go, man, it's amazing if they don't put their head in the way, how things just come together and it works out for you.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do. We're still mind controlled, but if you're going to play the Matrix game, you are mind controlled. But it's a matter of, who are you giving the power to? We came in, we didn't really have a whole lot of choice. It was actually, we kind of inherited the request that the power to control us went right to the cabal. That's what we signed up for. That, they were the ones that were going to be the darkest, deepest, cruelest boot camp we could possibly have, because we had to do it. We had to do it. We had to get them to do it because we couldn't do it ourselves. We couldn't do it to ourselves. It was too hard to do it to ourselves. So we had to actually employ others to actually do it to ourselves.
And we wanted to see how we would do with it.
Right. But now we're coming out of that. And now all those people who did us a favor, because they didn't want to do it. We talked them into it, and they loved us so much that they did it. Now we have to find a way to forgive them. But there's a lot of people who want to hang them.
Yeah.
Well, forgiving them is not telling them it's okay what you did, not the actions.
Right.
It's the forgiveness is for you, so you can rise above it.
Yeah, because
their karma will take care of them. Their karma, they have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And you are not fit to be their judge.
Right.
Yep. It's like cutting the energetic cord as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because any action that you do in vengeance or whatever, what it could be construed as justice, you're doing it to yourself. You mean it's going to have your fingerprints on and your energy on. So
when you can't be sovereign if someone else is having any of your energy in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we are going to accept this challenge, the new challenge that's online now, which is to become sovereign beings, we have to shed these things that get in the way of that. And now we're underway the training towards becoming sovereign. And who are we giving the keys to? Who become our new drill instructors? Not them. It's our higher self. We didn't know we had that option when we came in here. And in fact, we told them, block it from us. Block it from us, so that we have to deal with the lowest energies possible, the lowest densities, so that we can learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now that phase is over. Now we're on the way out. It's not over for everyone. There's still plenty of people in there. But that's what part of our moving up to the next level is, helping those down below who can come to us. And it's not us chasing them. It's them saying, hey, how did you guys get up there? Hey, how come you're shining a little bit brighter than everyone else?
Because they're asking questions.
That's the question. It's not your job to give them answers. It's to show them examples. And eventually they go, oh, because if you come up with the answers for them, they're just going to be attached to you.
That would be you trying to train their horse.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. Yeah, doesn't work. And I think too, what that brought up was, the questions. The time of the guru was over, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
But in the past, you'd see those, up here, and they're, giving the information to the ones who aren't there yet. And these saw them as gurus and following in the path. And I think as we're shifting, it's not that guru God, separation. We're all the same. We all can make this path, but it's through the questioning that they get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the lighthouse. Yeah.
Just another perspective. Not saying you're wrong, but another perspective is the time of the external guru is gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
The internal guru is on the rise.
Yes.
That is you. That is that voice inside you that has always been there and has never steered you wrong. You didn't always listen to it, and that's when you got steered wrong.
Yeah.
But it's always been you. That's your higher self.
Yes.
That's your guru.
It's nice, like having these. It's like I am as awesome as I think I am. I am as magical as I think I am. It's really true.
Actually, you're more magical than you even know.
Yeah, right. But I'm like, it's not lies. They're the lies, and here's the truth.
You're just tapping in. You're playing a video game, and you've been stuck on level 1 for 30 or 40 years. Okay. And now there's been that voice that's always said, no, go do this. And you're like, no, I want this is, whatever. Then now finally you're listening to that. And all of a sudden you find yourself, you've now finished level 1 and you're now level 2 and going, wow, I am actually good at this. This is cool. The thing is that you're now a level 2 playing controller who's destined for level 100.
That's right.
That there's so much more to come, and all you have to do is start asking more in-depth questions and start believing in the internal you instead of putting your focus on all the external stuff that you threw out there so that you could have a symbolic representation of what's going on inside you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should get shirts that say, well, yes, I am awesome. So are you.
Exactly. Exactly.
We are all awesome.
We are.
We're just awesome in different ways. Ultimately, when we get back to source, we're all the same thing. But in the meantime, we're paving our individual paths of awesomeness.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the people who want to get stuck, for whatever reason, they want to learn more, or they think that's where, they're going to, but universe has other things in store. You have free will, but you have free will within universe. Universe can trump all that.
Right.
And universe says when it's time, everyone out of level 1. But I'm not done. Sorry, we're shutting down level 1. Now we're level 2. Everyone's going. Some people will be able to move there much more gracefully, and other people will be stumbling, not running into each other and whatnot. That's the time. But who are you? If you're one of the graceful ones, are you going to open yourself to assisting those who are not as graceful? How are you going to do it? Are you going to try to give them all the cheat codes?
Yeah,
that would be to their benefit.
Meanwhile, you're still struggling though, because you still have other levels to come. But I say, in helping others, that unlocks those upper levels. Once we realize that as a species, man, we are going to speed through 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're just going to keep going because the secret is we collectively, if we pull our resources there's nothing
Yeah.
that we can't deal with. Nothing.
Yeah, it just makes me think, when we shift and to the point of somebody comes and they trigger something in you and you go, thank you so much. I mean, you really kind of go, you see each other and you know that you're playing it together in that scenario. You're playing it together. There's no longer the animosity. And
Well, you got to get over. You got to get over that ego trap.
Yeah, exactly.
We all part of level 1 is ego trap.
Mm-hmm.
We all have to deal with it, and no two egos are the same.
Yeah.
We can share notes, we can compare ideas and whatnot, but no two egos are the same. That's a hurdle of level 1. Level 2 will have its own hurdle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to me, the ego is tied closely to the horse. It's the horse's personality in a way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. That was good. That was really good.
We just went to a mini boot camp.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the reason you went to boot camp? Huh?
Probably multiple reasons. We often, because I was telling her about my experience shortly after we met. So this was quite a few years ago. I was telling her about my not just boot camp. I was telling her about my military experience and what I did and how I got to the MOS that I had and what training I went through. And I told her all the things. And so when we were done, she said, how long were you in the military for? And I said, just over 2 years. She goes, what?
Did not make sense because I've been around military people most of my life, and I mean, he was talking like he was career military. The way he was describing it, like 2 years. No, I think you did something funny with time during that time.
Yeah. So
yeah,
she seems to think that
there was more there than chronologically possible.
Was involved in some other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my suspicion.
But who knows? I don't know. I mean, I get these memories and then I go, hey, I don't remember that addendum to this memory before. And I'm calling, but I don't know what it is. I don't have a basis for it.
He'll give detailed descriptions of how something functions. Like we'll be watching a movie and I'll turn to him and I'm like, how do you know how that works? And he's like, I don't know. They should move like this when they're doing their maneuvers. They should move like this and hold themselves like that. And I'm like, how do you know this? Yeah, so there's more there than is known.
But the funny thing is that that's probably okay. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. But we're all like that. You think about it. We're all greater on the inside than we are on the outside. Our higher self put only so much of us inside us that we could hold. But there's so much more to us. And sometimes if we raise our frequency, it leaks leaks into us. We make room for it. And so all of a sudden we have these knowings. These things are, for more and more people are coming online. People know things. It's not like they have questions, but these are things that they know. All of a sudden they didn't know it. And then all of a sudden they know these things.
Yeah. It's like downloads of gnosis information happens to me quite often.
Exactly. These are things that are going to be speeding up for more and more people. If you start to question them, that's fine. But watch how you do it, because you can slow it down if you lower your frequency. If you lower your frequency back down, then it will start to slow down and cut off.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what I was about to say. Like, if you want to keep more is like to eat, be healthy, help by vibrationally, energetically, physically, and then you get, I guess, more downloads.
Yeah, and be grateful. Be grateful for it.
Yes.
That is a higher frequency. The higher frequency things that you can be involved in. A lot of it's attitude.
Mm-hmm.
It really is the magic. Gratitude is the magic.
It is. It is.
We were talking yesterday, because Thanksgiving was yesterday, and it was like, we should, why have one day a year where we all sit in gratitude? That should be like an everyday thing,
Instead of going to...
It is an everyday thing for me. It really is an everyday thing for me.
Instead of going to church on Sunday, we should be giving thanks all day on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm just saying something equivalent like that. We say we some people may say grace before every meal, but it shouldn't be just grateful for this food. It should just be grateful to be a part of it. But a lot of people, that their perspective or their attitude is not. They're trying to get through life. They're not. Their attitude is not. Wow, what an awesome opportunity to be here during this time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and one of the biggest things for anybody that's one of the biggest shifts of your attitude that can happen is if you have have a gratitude list every day. Write a few things every day, different things each day, not the same ones, but different things each day that you're grateful for. It's a small step, but it makes a huge impact.
Yeah, I like to have a
big shift.
I like to have a big shift every day.
Well, it's like that. There's that book, The Magic, where it's like a workbook, like where 28 days you're doing things in gratitude, and you have to think of so many things to be grateful for. You can't think of anything else, and it's just like your whole life becomes like, oh my God, everything's amazing. It really does. It makes you feel magical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you start. We all start with the basic stuff, the big stuff, but then you get just to the point of, a blanket. Grateful for the food that you ate. Grateful.
It helped me to repair my relationship with my mom at the time, just because you go back to like thinking about you never had to want for food and how my childhood was. And she was such a great mom. And it got me thinking about it at such a deeper level that I was able to like get past all the bull crap, that I'd been holding on to for years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, that I had to go through that with my family and realize, okay, I already did all the analyzing each individual and all their shortcomings, but there came a time when it's kind of like, yeah, but the collection of that produced me.
Mm-hmm.
So am I not grateful that I got to go through that and come out the other side, and now I can proceed forward based on that foundation it gave me?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I actually elected them to play those roles, and they played it the way I envisioned them playing it.
Mm-hmm.
And they go through things so that we don't have to as souls a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah, and their experience of it and your experience of it could be vastly different, just like the two people, one inviting the other to lunch and then the other one saying no. It's like you just don't know, but you can release some of those and just be grateful for that experience and grateful for what is in your space in the present moment.
Yeah. Well, you have to realize the only attitude, like the one item, the only attitude that you have the power to adjust and do anything is yours.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really change someone else's attitude. Only they can.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk to them about it, but if you try to force them, the best you'll get is that they'll tell you, okay, great, and then go away, and then they didn't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's up to them to do.
Mm-hmm.
You let them worry about their attitude, take care of your attitude, and move forward from there.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, why do I forgive everyone? Because it frees me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I'm freeing them. They still have to deal with their own karma.
Yep.
It's not someone else being my judge I'm worried about. It's me. It's I'm my own judge.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to do everything I can to lighten the load on the judge, judging me. That's me judging me.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that's what we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you what, every day I'm feeling, I mean, we all have our ups and downs and whatnot that we have to deal with. And it's still learning. They're still learning. In fact, I learn more on my low days than I do on it's my upper days. I'm just in gratitude. It's kind of like, wow, great. I mean, I had an epiphany. Yeah. But what got the ball rolling on that epiphany? Probably on my low day. I didn't realize it, but I was confronted with this and that, and it was bogging me down. But I rose up because the next day I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
All righty.
Very good. Fun playing. See you later.
Bye.